Let's talk about physical and chemical changes when it comes to atoms and its molecular structure. There are changes in matter. We can break it up as a physical property, which is a characteristic of a substance that can be observed without changing the substance into another substance. So the example you see here is ripping a piece of paper into small pieces, or perhaps using the hammer to nail something into wood. We can observe a change, but it is not changing the substance. Here's another example. We have a beaker of ice melting into water. Again, we see a physical property occurring, but it is not changing into a new substance. A chemical property is a characteristic of a substance that describes its ability to change into other substances. So let's look at these further. This is where your notes will begin. Please make sure to fill them in as we go. A physical change is a change that alters the form or appearance of a material, but does not make the substance into another substance. So for example, we go back to that ice example. The ice is melting, but it's still water. It has just gone through a phase change. A chemical change is a change that produces a new substance. And these new substances are made of the same elements, but change to different combinations. So a firework could be an example of a chemical change. It produces a new substance, but is made of the same elements. To know if a chemical change has happened, we observe chemical reactions. Chemical changes occur when bonds break and new bonds form. Changes in properties and changes in energy that can be observed. Some factors that show a chemical reaction or a chemical change is taking place is that there's a change in energy, a color change, bubbles may form, we might see a change in odor, or we might see a precipitate forming, which is when we see solids form from a solution. This picture right here is an example of a precipitate. So again, these are factors that show a chemical reaction or chemical change has occurred. When we see changes in energy, we see that every chemical reaction involves a change in energy. Exothermic reaction is a reaction that releases energy in the form of heat. Endothermic reaction is a reaction that absorbs energy. So you can see from our endothermic and exothermic feels warm when touched, and endothermic reaction would feel cold. It's absorbing the energy. So take a minute right now and look at this as a nice review. This graphic is on your notes as well. Remember, a physical change affects only the appearance of a substance, but does not create any new substances. So when we think of changes of state, that's a physical change. Freezing, melting, boiling, etc. We could change its form by bending it, crushing it, chopping it, breaking it, filtering, distilling, and other forms to change the form, but again, we're not creating a new substance. A chemical change produces a new substance with properties different from those of the original substance. You will hear these known as a chemical reaction. So some examples of chemical change might be burning, also known as combustion, oxidation or rusting, chemical degradation, hydrogen peroxide on a cut produces bubbles of oxygen gas, and many more. These again are examples of a chemical change. So take a moment, pause the notes here, and draw an example of an endothermic and exothermic reaction on your notes. Remember, endothermic is absorbing energy, and exothermic is releasing it. Now it's time to become an expert on chemical and physical changes. Please go to the website listed here, or simply go to the Science 7 page and the link will be on School Loop. Click Run Module, which you'll see here, and you'll complete the table on the back of your notes. We're going to see if you're a masters at identifying chemical and physical changes.